Hey everybody, it's Mia. Take two. We've been having some audio problems. I've been trying to invite Brendan to join. So I'm going to try this one more time. Barca, 1 second. Okay, I just sent you an invite, so you should be getting it. Hey Cherie, we're gonna try one more time. Um, Hey Crystal, thanks for joining. I'm having Brendan try to join in one more time. We've been having some audio problems. So stay tuned. I'm actually just inviting him as we speak. Hey Dre, thanks for joining. I'm trying to get Brendan on so that we can get started. And the invite has been sent out, so I think he should be joining any moment. Hey Shantanu, thanks for joining. Thanks. We're just trying to join. I'm trying to have Brendan join the Facebook Live, but we've been having some audio problems again. So, hey Shantanu. So let's try to get Brendan on. Okay, Okay, I just got your confirmation. And it's the same thing here, and it's a bit sound. Shanta, me well. Sound. I hear clicking and off. Can you hear me? So. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, but anyways, uh, I did try phones. So, well, actually, maybe try using it. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now, Brendan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this works. So it was your audio problem. Let me try to put my headset on. Perfect. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, perfect. Oh my God, yes. This is so much better.
I
All
don't know what it
right.
was. I guess
Thanks,
my phone has
Crystal.
audio problems.
Yeah, both Crystal and Shantanu were saying that my sound is great. So, glad this worked.
Wow.
So, thanks for joining. Thanks everybody for sticking around with the audio issues. So, let's just get started. So this is Mia for folks that don't know from Travelpreneur Tribe. We help people start and grow their businesses by bringing together business coaches and entrepreneurs on global events. And today I'm here with Brandon Barca, who is a business coach and a speaker, and he helps people really define their vision and create their ideal business. So before I start talking too much, like I'll let you, Brandon, introduce yourself and tell us about you and your business and how you got started. So,
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me, Mia, and thanks for everyone
sure.
that's on watching. Again, my name is Brendan Barca. I am originally from the Boston area and grew up in the suburbs there. I went to Syracuse University, and out of school, I really didn't really know what I wanted to do long term, so I got a job in finance, really starting at the low ends of a sales ladder, and didn't know what I was doing there, why I was, but I was happy to be kind of in the game in a big
Mm,
corporation. So for about 5 years, I worked my way up the ladder where I was going from low end sales to mid level and like on my way to like making sales and making finance my whole life and my whole career. But I came to a point about 3 years ago that I realized that I wanted my life to be about much, much more. And I felt like I was missing out on things like giving back to people, serving others when it came to my sales career. So at that point, I started my own blog. So it was my first journey into entrepreneurship. The blog is called Straddle the Line. And at the time, it was really just telling my story about how I was confused in my career, sort of at this crossroads, and I was trying to navigate to find my direction.
Yeah.
And over time, over the last 3 years, that blog has turned into people asking me questions of how to overcome their own struggles. And really, before I even knew what coaching was, I was doing coaching through my blog 3 years ago. So eventually, I met some coaches. I realized, wow, I'm already doing this. Maybe I could do this full time. And within the last year, I've gone from part-time to full-time as a coach. I've left sales. I was both in finance and technology, and now I'm excited because in sales, I'm able to really help other people that are in sales or other industries who are at that crossroads, help them find more direction, more clarity, and build their ideal lives or career step by step.
Cool. That's so exciting to hear, stories like that. I just had a conversation with somebody, who like just kind of like it happened organically, right?
Mm.
So, and now like 3 years, and you're doing it full time. So, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And it sounds organic when I tell the story, but really there's a lot of struggle in there. It's always like, it sounds like a good overview, but I realized my life was like a little bit more like a roller coaster.
I think everybody's is, especially when, you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to figure things out for the first time. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I know like the main topic of our conversation today is really to talk about some of the critical sales techniques, right, that folks can start implementing today in
Mhm.
growing their business. So, can you talk a little about that? I know we're going to cover a few key points, but what it is, that's really the gist of it, right?
Sure. So first of all, I think coming from a sales background, I was very fortunate to kind of have that experience and then use that now as I'm building my business. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see from entrepreneurs is they think that they can start a business by setting up their website and like doing a few marketing campaigns and just hoping clients will start coming in through their email
Hmm.
list or signing up for whatever it is they're selling. But I've found in my experience with a lot of people that I've worked with is that sales happens still on a very much a personal level, no matter how much of a digital world we're in. So it's so important to have a sales strategy and a networking strategy so that you can build your business with connections, relationships, because that's what I've seen work for myself. So within this segment today, I want to go over 4 different steps that can help people to sort of start to map out their sales path, a few different tactics of how to do it, and then ultimately a strategy that they can use going forward that should give them a sustainable outlook on their business.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Okay.
So, number one, what's the key thing where people should start if they're really looking to expand?
Sure. Yeah. And so number one that I had was to map out your existing network. Again, another issue that I've seen with people and a mistake that they make early on is they think that whatever their solution is, whatever their service or product, they want to sell that directly to clients and consumers. However, oftentimes, those people might be a little bit drawn back about with your sales approach. They might be a little bit, like turned off by that. But your biggest advocates and your biggest marketing techniques are actually through the people who already know and trust and believe in you. So that's why I believe that it is so important to start with your existing network. Like most entrepreneurs, we come from past industries. Like we have either been in sales for almost a decade like me, or your background, so you already have a vast network of people that
Hmm.
know, trust, believe in you. So I think it's really critical as a starting off point to figure out. I have a list of 25 of my top influencers, what I call it, and that's different than social media influencers, but really your own network of people who are maybe higher levels or in really connected industries where they could be advocates for you, or they have a microphone, say a podcast or a website that they could help reach people on. So really mapping out a list of those people, say on an Excel doc or a Google Sheets, and then from there, figuring out how to map out who you want to meet with first. I mean, one example I had is this person named Joel, who I would never consider to be a coaching client necessarily because he's, much more senior to me. Maybe, I wouldn't necessarily think I'd coach him. He was more of a mentor to me, but he was someone I had on my influencer list. I met with him and then realized that there was an opportunity for me to do speaking and workshops within the company he worked at. So a huge sales lead or a huge opportunity for me within a relationship that was not a direct sell, but more of a relationship that I had before and now will
Hmm.
result
Hmm.
in supplemental business.
Okay, great. So first reach out to your existing people like via network. Like what are some of the like would you like schedule calls with them? Would you like send them emails
Right.
or
Right. Yeah. So good question. So that brings us sort of step two is like then once you have your list of people, it's then how do you do the tactics of setting up, connecting with these people. So
yeah.
the way that, I mean, depending on how close you are to each person, there's going to be different methods to get in with them. If you're very close, texting is totally fine. But if it's a little bit more in the peripherals, I would say that if you have their email from a past life or a past job, that's the best way. Then the next level where you can reach almost anyone these days, I've found, is through LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, everyone that's trying to be a successful professional or trying to start their own business has a profile there, and that's a way for you to find people who maybe you never connected with as much as you want to. So I would send a curated message to people that I wanted to reach out to in my network, or even if I wanted to branch out from my network. I mean, one of the things that I did that was super helpful at the very beginning when I went full time is I um, came up with a template that just explained what my business was going to be and who I was and what my
Hmm.
mission was. And I sent that to, all 1,000 connections that I had essentially. And it wasn't a sell. I wasn't saying, do you want to work with me? It was more of like, this is what I'm doing. If you know anyone that, might be interested or could help me with this, like, please let me know. And out of that, I mean, I got my whole first batch of clients. So just coming up with a template to send. And then I say no one is really out of reach. It's really our own minds that are telling us to not reach out to people when really the magic usually happens with those people that you're afraid to email or to link in with, like that person, Joel, that I mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then once you have the meeting, I think another important point is a lot of people that aren't from a sales background is trying to understand how to conduct themselves when they're in a meeting like this. Like, for an example, they aren't direct clients, it's more of like a networking conversation. So, I think there's three main things that you want to do within a conversation with a person you want to network with or a client. Number one is you want to offer value to them. So we don't want to go in with our own mentality of like, okay, my agenda is I want clients or I want to get a speaking event. How can I ask them for that? No, the first thing you want to do is figure out, okay, who is this person? What's their job? What do they care about? Maybe go through their LinkedIn activity, maybe see what they're doing on Twitter, and then from there determine, hey Joel, I saw that you just became head of training and development. I found this article that really could be helpful for you. I just sent it over for you to take a look. So by offering that value, it shows that you're thinking of them and not just thinking selfishly about your business and how I'm going to raise money or what, because that's the instant turnoff. Is that if you serve others and don't ask for anything in return, that's when people are going to buy you without you even asking for it.
Hmm.
So that's one important thing. I also, within that meeting, of course, part of it is giving them an update on your business and what you do. And that comes down to having a really succinct pitch of the problem you're solving and who you're solving it for. So oftentimes we launch into, hey, I'm Brendan, I'm a coach. Like, it doesn't really tell people anything. But if I say, I work with salespeople who are at a crossroads in their career and help them find clarity, direction, and build their ideal careers, then that may give someone a little bit more of a sense of what I do and have someone in mind who might be a good connection for me. So number one, offer value. Number two, update them on what you're doing. And then number three, you want to come up with an ask. So depending on who you're meeting with or what the purpose of your meeting is, it'll be a little bit different. But I think one general one that'll work for any meeting is who do you know? So, if you're a coach and you're looking for clients, or if you're a speaker and you're looking for event managers, giving them a framework of what ballpark you're kind of playing in or where your business is, and then asking them who they might know in that space. Because once you give them a good framework of, where you're operating from, they'll think of them in their head and then be able to connect you to someone else. And that's really how you start to expand your network and get connected with people that can really make a difference for your business.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, those are all amazing tips. So
yeah,
thanks.
yeah, and I think one example of before we get to the next one, I just want to give one example
Yeah.
of that is that, there's another person I met with. Her name was Daphne, and she already had a business coach. She, is a very successful entrepreneur already with I think 6 or 7 years in business, but she is someone I'd met and I'd really admired. So instead of trying to sell her directly or to try to pry her from her other coach, like that wouldn't be very successful. Instead, I just work to like really meet with her, understand her needs, and like really provide value for her in those meetings. And what happened from that is that she then met someone who was looking for a coach, and she mentioned me actually instead of her existing coach, which was pretty cool. And then introduced me to her, and now she's a client. So showing that you don't necessarily have to be selling the people you're talking to, and they'll become your marketing techniques for down the road.
Yeah. And I definitely see, a lot of like things, especially, on LinkedIn that you're getting, like people, trying to cold sell you and things. And, really like building that relationship and offering value is, I think, in these days where there's just so many things out there, is really something that, can make you stand apart from all of the others. So,
Right. Yeah. I mean, how many times do you get these LinkedIn messages from people that, try to sell you right before you even accept? It's like, hey, see your coach. We give a marketing funnel that's going to get you 20 clients in a night. It's like, okay, I'm not going to accept. But if it's someone who has a genuine interest in something you do, you get the connection, you set a call because you want to learn more about their business or you want to see how you can help. Like that's how long-term business is made. And that example with Daphne is perfect. Is I didn't try to sell her, I didn't try to overcommit it, but it's more of just get to know them. Then they become long-term influencers and advocates for you.
yeah, great. Okay. So what's next?
Okay.
What like you have like your existing network, right? And how do we expand from that? And I think we have other folks joining. So, hey, Helena, thanks for joining. I'm here with Brendan, and we're just talking about some of the sales strategies on what you need to do in order to scale up and really get your business running. So, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
But
Thank you
yeah,
for.
Brendan, sorry, please continue.
No problem. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for joining. The two things we've covered so far are first of all mapping out your existing network, and then how to then tactically set up the meetings and conduct those meetings with those people. So step three that I want to share here is expanding your network, and that happens in two ways. I think first of all, we just mentioned it, but it's working with those top people that are already advocates for you now and figuring out who they know. So literally in those meetings with those top 25 people who you might not want to sell to directly, ask them who they might know who could be impactful for you. And that's
Hmm.
one way to then go to your second degree connections. So that's the easiest way to do it, and I think the most effective. The second way is actually through LinkedIn, and there's a lot of good ways to use LinkedIn, even in the free version of LinkedIn, which I use currently. You can go to the
Hmm.
search function in there, and you might already do this, Mia, but you can go into the search function, you can click on the button that's like second degree, so secondary connections, and then you can filter by a connection you already have. So for
Yeah.
example, okay, so for example, if you want to, figure out who this person Daphne knows, who I just mentioned, you can type in her name, secondary connection, and then a whole list of people. And then you can look, okay, does Daphne know any people that might be in my niche, like a salesperson or someone who's trying to start a business? And if so, the next time I see Daphne, I could say, hey, Daphne, by the way, I noticed you were friends with so and so. Do you think that would be a good person for me to meet? So it's a good way, instead of just asking the flat question like, who do you know? And then them thinking, oh, geez, I don't know. I know a lot of people. It's rather,
Yeah.
oh, I saw that Michelle.
Such.
Do you think we'd be a good match?
Yeah. Curious, do you use LinkedIn Sales Navigator or?
So currently I don't. I used to use it in my sales career, and I thought it was helpful. There's a lot of good features, but I also find that I'm very effective in the free version. I don't really see any reason to upgrade right now.
Oh, okay, good.
Do you use it?
I do use it. I love it. I mean, it helps me create safe searches, and reaching out, creating tags, and just it makes follow-up so much easier
Mm,
because like my volume of the people that I'm reaching out, so both on my client side, but then also on like the business coaching side with the people that I'm trying to connect with my community, it just expands so much. And LinkedIn itself, it's just really hard to like manage all of the messages and everything. So I
right.
need all the help that I can get. So yes, Sales Navigator is perfect for that.
Yeah, yeah. So Sales Navigator, I see what you're saying, because once you have a certain volume, it's hard to keep track of the conversations and all the flow. So I guess my substitute for that right now, which is another free service I use, is just having my own CRM, which is HubSpot, which is actually a
Hmm.
very famous marketing tool. But for someone who's just starting out and doesn't want to pay for a service, HubSpot is going to allow you to log all of your contacts, log all of your conversations, create a sales pipeline for yourself. So,
Yeah.
I think maybe a lot of things that you're using Sales Navigator for, I use for HubSpot. So yes, because it
Hmm.
is hard to keep track of everything, especially the important people and the important leads within LinkedIn, it can get lost. So HubSpot's a good recommendation for anyone that wants a free service.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, right, so you're like expanding your network, right? Like you're really looking for folks on LinkedIn, reaching out with some of the specifics, right? So basically you're not going like all over the place. Like you have a specific agenda with who you want to reach out to and specific follow-ups. So,
Right.
mhm.
Yeah, and I think for those, like you mentioned earlier, that sometimes you will get those messages that are very much kind of spammy and salesy. What's really important when you're reaching out to people directly through the messaging portal is to make sure that it's personalized to some extent. Like, you're using their name, maybe a little thing about them in the beginning that you remember from them, like, oh, how's the house in Maine or something like that. And then you can use a little bit of a template from whatever you're going to say. But I think it's
Mhm,
important to
mhm.
have a little bit of personalization to show that you're not just completely spamming. But then also if you're trying to set a call or set some sort of meeting, keep it short. Show what you're trying to give them out of that meeting, and then set a or ask them for a particular time and date. I think too often we send out messages that are a little bit loose and don't really have much direction. But if I'm, quickly going through my LinkedIn and I see a message, okay, can you meet on, March 8th at 2 p.m. Would love to go over this. I'd be like, okay, well, let me think. Okay, yes, that's a good meeting. Do I have the time? Yes, and I'll just set it up. But if you say, how about in the next 2 weeks? Then it's like, well, maybe. So it's really important to be
Yeah,
um, not
specific.
forceful, but specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so then I can go over step four, or is there something else you want to cover in that?
No, no, I think yeah, so like once, right, so we have your like you mapped out your existing network, you expanded on your existing network with your second degree, right? And what's then?
Yeah. So for So for what's next, what I think is where a lot of people fall short on the business building side is they don't have a repeatable and scalable strategy. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to build a business, whether it's coaching or any sort of product related or service related thing, is that if you don't create the momentum, if you don't produce the leads, then no one else is going to do it. So what you need to do is set daily and weekly goals for yourself, and not goals that are based on like how many people get back to you or how many sales you make, but goals that are based on output. So for example, one goal on a day could be ask 3 people to get coffee. Just send them a message or send them an email or a text. Another goal could be, share value with 10 people in your network. So find an article, send it out to 10 people. So these two goals that could be daily goals for someone are based not on how many meetings you get set up, but they're based on how many times you're trying, how many swings you're taking to get there. And that is so important. And you don't want it to be something where it's going to overwhelm you and tire you out in a few
Yeah,
weeks. You want it to be something that, okay, every single day, no matter what you have going on, no matter how many meetings, calls, other things, can you accomplish this? And if you can, at the end of the week and the end of the month, you're going to have a certain amount of output that's going to land a certain percentage of meetings where then you can convert those to leads or clients. So I think it's really important for people to develop a strategy, and that's where part of what I'm going to share later on is going to come into effect. But it's so important to have those goals, because if you don't have those, then you could go a whole week without trying to get new leads. Then you realize
yeah,
in 6 months that you don't have any sales. It's like, well, it's because you didn't do the work in February.
yeah. You haven't reached out to anybody, you haven't talked to anybody,
Yeah,
so
and it's easy to get lost in that trap when you're doing well. Say for example, you have a really good month, like you had a good event, like you got a few clients, and you really surpassed your goals. Like, well, I can kind of take a break here, but it's like then 3 months out, because you took a break in February, you lose the revenue then. So it's really about being consistent, developing a plan, and then adjusting it along the way. Like if certain things aren't working, like if you're doing a remote workshop and no one's coming and you're not getting any clients, then cross it off the plan. But at least develop one up front, and then
yeah.
develop daily, weekly, and monthly goals for yourself, which is such a key point for anyone that's trying to do anything, whether you're trying to run a marathon or start a business.
Mm. How do you keep track of your goals?
Yeah, so one thing that I do daily is I have of course I have everything on my calendar of all the things I need to attend to, but I find I get lost kind of in the digital space of my computer, and I can kind of get out of focus depending on what I'm doing in a day. So I actually use for daily goals, I write down all my goals on a notebook. So just a one-page notebook, and then I'll have my top two or three major goals that are super important. Like I cannot let the day go by without these getting done. And then I'll have my other kind of periphery goals below that. And so throughout the day, when I'm losing focus or I'm like losing time, I can look back and see, okay, where am I at? Where am I at? And then
Yeah.
anything that doesn't get accomplished that's maybe secondary goals, I carry that to the next day. So I just flip the page and put it on there. So that's a daily way, but then also weekly, I have my own business coach, and at the end of every week, I have this sort of progress report that I send her based on how many meetings I had, how many proposals I made, how many presentations I gave. So that is another way for me to keep weekly accountability. I really am a big advocate for daily and weekly because it keeps you really focused, because within a month you can kind of lose that, and
Yeah.
it slips away. Like February's already gone, you know?
And I think with like daily and weekly, it makes it like it's like small hits, small wins, right? So
Right,
it's like, I mean, anybody can like reach out to three people a day to ask for a coffee, right?
right,
It's like copy paste, like, it's something quick hits that at the end, can bring really big results. Versus like if your monthly goal was, okay, in a month, reach out to 100 clients, it seems like, oh my God, 100 clients, like, but if you take that into a daily steps, it's like,
right.
it's much more manageable. So,
Right. Yeah, it's a huge, I mean, like I gave the analogy of the marathon, and it's like, if you sign up for a marathon in 3 months and you don't run like, your training runs, you don't do 5 miles on a Monday, you don't do, 7 miles on the weekend, then when the marathon comes, it's going to be obvious you're not going to be able to do it. So it's
this,
like so
yeah,
important to have those each day. And like you said, they're not insurmountable. They're not even like really that hard, but it's important to keep that daily focus, because otherwise the month slips by, and you fail. And like these things, and starting a business is hard, so you gotta really be disciplined. But I think the discipline comes after you can really create these habits, because now when I wake up, like it's not even a question that I'm going to reach out to three people. Like it just happens within it. By 10 o'clock I'm already done with that, so it's not
yeah.
that hard anymore.
Yeah, great. And also one of the things that I like is your distraction strategies. So for folks that are still listening in, it's like Brennan actually doesn't have a Facebook app on his phone.
That's right.
So, it's like, but those little things, like they make you really focus, right? Because you don't get distracted by like million notifications on your phone, especially if you're trying to do something. Instead, when you have dedicated time for Facebook, you just come and sit down and do whatever it is that you need to do. So,
That's right. I'm probably your first ever interviewee who
yes,
didn't have a Facebook app.
I was like, yeah,
Well,
I think you would need a Facebook app in order to have a Facebook Live.
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's one thing. I actually don't have any social media on my phone, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, anything. Actually, I do have LinkedIn, so that's kind of cheating, and I go on there too much, so that's
Yeah,
my like fix now, which is so it's kind of funny, but it's also a little, at least for me, it feels a little bit productive, because I can land meetings and I can find good content to repurpose to clients for what I do. So that's the only one I allow on my phone. Everything else, if I want to go on, I can go on my computer. But I find that not having those applications staring at me in the face helps me not
yeah.
even think about them. I'll go 2 weeks without being on Instagram. My friends like have a birthday and I'll miss it. I'm like, oh, well, this is,
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
one downside.
Yeah, no, but it's great. I think I'm definitely going to implement, at least start with 50% of it, because I always have like, 200 notifications on my phone, just like on different things, and it can get kind of overwhelming.
Oh yeah.
So,
Or just shut off the notifications. Like for LinkedIn, I don't allow it to send me messages. I only know I get a message if I go to the app itself and see. Because the thing is, we oftentimes think as business owners that everything is urgent, and if a client reaches out, I got to get back to them within 5 minutes. But no one expects that. If someone really needs you, they can text or call you. Other than that, any of that's just going to draw you out of what you're supposed to do, which is the
yeah,
the deeper work, which is creating the presentations, creating these amazing events you're putting together. Like that's the stuff that we really got to focus on, and it's going to get us to our bigger goals.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brendan. I mean, this was really helpful for me. I hope for the folks that are watching as well. I mean, if you find value, I see, Crystal, you were relating to some of these things. So please feel free to share. And I know Brendan he's just putting a template together, a sales playbook, right, to help folks kind of like put all of that together that we were talking and kind of keep them accountable from day to day and week to week. So you can expect to see that within a few days. And any final thoughts, comments that I haven't touched, something, that it's really important for folks to know?
Well, I would just say that,
Oh,
what's that?
no, I'm just reading so that Helena is saying as well that she doesn't have the any of the apps on the phone either, just on the laptop. So, okay, I can definitely see, what's the pattern there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, so I would just say to kind of bring the whole sales conversation full circle is that, sales is a huge part of growing a business, as we all know. And I think a few of the qualities that are going to be so important for anyone that looks to go out on their own venture is to really have, discipline in that daily action that we talked about. So creating
hmm
a plan and then following through with it every day and every week so you're hitting your goals. But also you want to, I think resiliency is huge, is that when you've done sales for, like I did for 8 years, it's really that when someone doesn't reply to you or someone like sends you a message to say no, like it doesn't hurt me anymore. Like I have thicker skin now. And I think it's like, if I could coach anyone that hasn't been through that, like just know that everyone kind of has their own agendas in this world. No one's really trying to offend you if they're saying no to your stuff. It's really just, it's actually better if they say no because you can cross them off your list and move on. The real problems lie in the maybes. So if someone tells you a maybe and you chase them for 6 months, that you waste time. So it's actually good to get a no because that allows you to focus on the people that are interested. So I say that consistency, resilience, and then just being, human with people. Showing that you want to serve is going to be how you're going to land clients and create a long-lasting business. Those are the three themes that I would say for people to work on. And then just on the thing that you mentioned, what I'm going to create for everyone. So I'm going to have a LinkedIn themed sales playbook that gives people an action template of how often to maybe reach out to people they could set up for themselves, but then also a few tactics that they could use on LinkedIn to make it easier or to optimize their time on there. And that'll be out by Monday or so. I'll send to you or send to the group.
yeah, you can just post it in the group for the folks. There's going to be a video, and then this way everybody can get notification and they can really take it if they're interested. So,
Okay. Well, I'll
but
have to.
I actually see that Crystal has a question. If you can recap the last two steps. Just the last two steps in the overall, or I guess I'm not where you missed it out, but do
Well, I
you
can
want to
say
just
the
recap?
I can say the 4 steps that we went over today.
Yeah.
So first of all, step one, I think, is that you have to map out your existing network and have a template or like a CRM that shows who these people are. They're going to really be advocates and influencers for you as you start your business. Step number two is to set meetings and calls with these people so that they can be, again, those advocates. And you want to also start to then work from there and expand your network, which brings me to step three, which is expand on your current network and find people that you don't know now and make them advocates who are going to sell your product without you having to do it yourself. And then step four, which I think is the most important one, is to create a repeatable strategy. So no matter what you're selling, no matter what product you have, you need to be consistent. You need to have goals for yourself, and it has to be doable for you. If you can't keep up, then change the plan. It's
Yeah.
just got to be something that you do yourself, because this is here's the third time I'll use the analogy. It's a marathon. This isn't a sprint. You're not going to get rich overnight doing this. It's going to take a lot of grit and determination, and that's what that strategy is going to help you do.
Yeah. And it's repeatable, right? So like you try, and if it works, you do more of it. If it doesn't, you regroup and you try something new and you test it and you try again. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you get
So,
smarter as you go. I mean, of course, if something works, then it's like, oh my God, I got to double down on that, right? Like,
yeah,
how did this conversation lead in like a speaking opportunity? Like, who knew? But then if something like isn't working, you try it like month after month, it's like, okay, time to reevaluate. And that's why at the end of every week when I'm doing my like weekly summary that I send to my coach on everything I accomplished, I'm also doing a little bit of a review to look at the activities that worked and what didn't. Because the ones that don't, if they don't work for like 3 weeks in a row, it's like, okay, maybe it's time for me to cut back on this because
yeah,
it's all about optimizing. We don't want to make our jobs harder for ourselves by chasing like things that aren't working. So it's just how to be smarter, and then that'll make the work easier over time. That's why the beginning of your business is the hardest part because you're learning everything.
everything. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was so valuable for me. Thank you so much, Brendan. And just where can people reach out to you if they want to learn more or learn more about you, your services?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mia, and thanks everyone that's come on today throughout the talk, our Facebook chat. So again, for those that came on late, I'm a coach and I work with people that are at a crossroads in their career, help them find clarity, direction, and then build their ideal lives or businesses step by step. If you want to find me, my website, and I can post a link to this maybe when I post up my template, but it's straddletheline.co, straddletheline.co, and that's really comes down to the fact that back when I started it, I was straddling the line between the life that I had and the life that I wanted. And I think a lot of people that read my stuff, I do a weekly newsletter on Fridays. So if you're interested, you can subscribe and kind of learn my stories, my clients' stories, and figure out how to implement some of these ideas we've talked about today. So I can post that in the group if that's helpful, but otherwise,
Sure.
you can reach me there.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Helena. Thank you, Crystal, for staying on and for supporting me and Brendan. And we'll be back soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.